right. So thank you for listening to part one. This is part two of me and the Mandela effect. So there's that, and let's talk about the Mandela effect. We can go into this because you moved to Idaho, which was kind of strange. Like all of a sudden you're just like, I'm picking up, I'm moving to Idaho. I'm gonna go live with my family,
I
and
was
that
escaping that.
that was an escape run. I
That was
totally
an
understand.
escape run. Like,
Yeah.
but that whole situation was really weird. Like, my uncle
We
calls me out of the blue and offers me a spot in his home in Idaho. Like,
yeah,
like
but I
that
think
was
they knew what you were going through at the time.
a
You,
little
you
bit, but
wanted.
I hadn't talked to my uncle in 6 months, and he calls me and offers me a room in his home.
We can talk about that if you want. Do
I
you want
just
to get into that a little bit? Because that was really strange. And I'm sorry that happened to you because that was a very traumatic. So I would understand if you don't want to mention anything about that.
I
But I
know.
mean, I figure enough time's gone by, maybe we could
Yeah,
uh,
I'm
rehash it.
I'm pretty indifferent to the whole situation now. Like,
Yeah,
I I
I
heard
know. But
before
it was
that.
so weird. I'm sorry. That, like, that to me is part of the whole Mandela effect thing about the way, because one of my things was like, I've noticed a change in people. I noticed like there were certain people that were, kind of like whatever. They were just sort of self-absorbed, egotistical, and then I meet them again, and they're like super sweet, nice. Like what? I was expecting. I mean, I got my guard up because I'm used to this one guy that I used to go work on his car. He was such a dick, and he would always be like, yeah, like I don't know. It's like whatever I did for him, he just like he just didn't appreciate anything. And then like I met him, like I saw him again over like at Walmart. I remember I was walking into Walmart and I seen the dude and I was like, oh hey man, and he's like hey, and dude, he was just his whole demeanor changed, his whole energy changed. He was a different guy, and he was like really kind and very like just laid back, and it was. And I know people change, over time. People have new revelations and stuff, and they decide that maybe you just change your character sometimes. It does happen, and you do
Yeah.
grow. But it
Well,
just seems so weird because this guy was always just like that way for the
I
longest
thought
time.
we were the perfect couple. I thought that, I thought everything was fine. I
Yeah,
had no idea.
I was
No
there to
idea.
witness that. This is the
Dude,
strangest story, people. I
we
mean,
had
this,
two fights in 4 years, or well, three and
two,
a half years. Two fights.
yeah, two
And they were
fights.
pretty knockdown, drag out fights, like arguments, really good arguments. Never anything physical. I'm not a physical person like that. Um, but he just, I, I don't know. It was
No,
weird.
it was the weirdest thing. No, no. Here's how strange it was. Like, the dude was. I would absolutely say that he was, and I don't name his name or anything because of what the things that happened to the guy afterward.
Yeah.
But it was really tragic in the sense of like, the thing about him is that he was so consistent with you.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't the
Yeah.
type of guy to be
Yeah.
like, okay, we're going here, babe, and then just bail on it. If
Yeah.
he had plans, you guys are gonna go do it. You guys are always like
Always.
attached to the hip, going to do stuff, whatever it might be.
Everyone
You're
thought we were the perfect couple, including me.
yeah,
That should
yeah.
have been my sign.
Well,
Um,
this is the
yeah.
thing is like nobody. The only thing we thought was weird is that like we always felt like, well, he's just not, he's sort of like dragging out your relationship. We felt like it should
He
progress by
he
now,
did not like me living at your house. He's
But
the one
that's
that set that up. Like he
he,
introduced us.
absolutely,
It
absolutely.
was his idea. He's like,
It
man,
was
my friend Dan has an
completely.
extra room. Like,
He
you
called
should rent
me.
that room. He was living with his
He.
parents. Should have been
This
my
is the
first line.
craziest. Well, yeah. What That's what the craziest thing was that, he called me and he was like, "Dude, you have that extra room. Do you think you could rent it to my, to my girlfriend?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, sure. I mean, why not? I mean, she seems
I
nice. I
didn't know
met you
you.
before. We didn't even know each other, and I
We
said
met
she seems
once.
nice enough. I mean, besides, anytime you rent a room to anybody, it's you don't really know them anyway. That could be a psycho. I mean, so I was just taking, but I knew him, and so I figured, okay, well, you've been sort of vetted. So I was like, sure. And at that time, we were just working and just living. We
Yeah.
weren't doing anything weird or anything like that. We weren't looking at Mandela effects or wasn't
No.
stuff going on. So like so you came into the picture and immediately we hit it off and we all were like super close friends laughing.
Right.
We'd always watch videos.
Nothing was
We
happening. You were with Bonnie at the time.
Yeah,
It,
I was with Bonnie at the time, right?
like
Right. Uh,
that's
yeah. That was
Yeah.
no, and it was always legit. Like there was never anything strange. Like there was
The most
no
physical contact we ever had was I gave you hugs.
hugs,
And they weren't
hugs.
even
That was
creepy
it.
dong hugs.
No creepy. Like yeah, yeah, no feely hugs, nothing like that. No, it was totally like we were totally like. Was I a gentleman? Would you say that? Would you
Yeah,
say that?
definitely.
I was absolutely a stand-up person. I wasn't trying to like bang some guy's girlfriend, right?
My very religious parents were even okay with me living there.
Right, right. And they came by and they circled the house a few times.
Yeah.
They were like, "Where's she living? With who?" And yeah, I mean, so like I had the okay from everybody. Everybody was like, "Yeah, Dan's good," you know. But you know, and this was the thing, and then your boyfriend like this one. I remember it was like 2000. Was it 2017?
Yeah.
That crazy? Yeah. So
Hmm.
it was going to be to set this up for everybody. Now remember, Matt is a very consistent person.
Yeah.
So he's very consistent, and he always, stuck to his word. If they were going to do something, they're going to do something. Well, that night he had said we're going to go out for New Year's Eve, and I remember
Mhm.
us, sitting there, and I remember 10 o'clock came, and I was like, well, he hasn't called yet. I wonder, okay, maybe he's just waiting until closer to New Year's Eve, whatever. And we were sitting around, and we were kind of like doing stuff, and we're just hanging out, and then all of a sudden, no call, no call, no call, and Christmas,
I
and New
started
Year's,
trying to
say
call
Christmas,
him
New
like
Year's,
every 15 minutes because at this point I'm getting scared.
a little bit
I'm like,
worried,
what's
yeah,
wrong? Like,
yeah,
if he says he's
yeah,
going to be somewhere or he says he's going to do something, he's there.
yeah,
And I mean, I'm starting to panic because I was going to meet up with him at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, after I got off
yeah,
of work. And
right.
I mean, I couldn't get a hold of him, no call back, no text back, nothing. Um,
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. It wasn't like him, totally out of his character to be like that. In fact, just a few days earlier, I woke up and he was in my house, talking with my father at that point,
yeah,
and they were having a great conversation. I mean, that was the last time I seen him, like physically. Woke up, I was waking up late all the time because I was researching and doing Mandela videos and whatever. And at the time, I'd like literally just put my life on hold to look into all these reality changes. And so, yeah, I was always kind of coming up and waking up about 11 o'clock and stuff. So I
yeah,
get up and I see
yeah.
Matt. Oh, hey, man, what's up? And then I remember he's just like, oh, hey, and then he quickly leaves and he didn't hang around. And it wasn't like I don't feel like I gave him any kind of vibe that I didn't want him there. I was just like, oh, hey. Anyway, make a long story short, that came and went, and he never called, and we were wondering what the hell. And I remember us both looking at each other like, this is so weird. And my first thought, I'm not going to lie, was like, was this a shift? Did this guy like change or something? Because I was kind of researching all this stuff, and I
Dude,
thought, man, this was so weird. This is so out of character for him.
I was sitting there thinking he died because he had talked about going
Yeah,
swimming for a little bit, going out
yeah,
to the lake, and he didn't swim. He'd just go sit by the lake or whatever, and chill. So I mean, I'm sitting here thinking death. Death is the only thing that's going to keep him from talking to me and from communicating. I'm calling his mom. I'm calling his aunt. I'm calling his dad. I am frantically calling all of our friends.
right,
Um,
right.
yeah, and so. Finally, it's like 2 or 3 in the morning. It's like way past midnight, and I'm not sleeping 'cause, well, I'm panicking. And he finally calls me, and he was like, "Oh, I just decided to go fishing." And
Yeah.
I was on my bass boat in the middle of the lake, not looking at my phone, and
Um.
yeah.
Yeah. Turns out that he was seeing some other girl,
Uh-huh.
and which was weird because like I said, he didn't seem like that type of person. Like what I mean,
And it was a
like
crap.
he would do
It
that.
was
Yeah.
a drug addict. She had been on drugs numerous times and had just gotten out of rehab again. And we didn't. I mean, the only thing I ever did in my entire life was weed. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
like that was me being bad.
Right. You
And
smoked the
Matt was
devil's lettuce.
completely against that. Like he,
Yeah, you can't even blame it on the fact that like he was like, okay, he got drunk and he did something stupid at a
right.
bar
He
type of
didn't
thing.
like
It
me
wasn't even
drinking. He didn't like
right,
me
right.
touching devil's herbs. And
Yeah.
um, anyway, like,
Right.
so for him to leave me for someone that's literally fresh out of rehab. And it was like I got a text like after that night he was like, "Well, I think we just need to like step back and, take a break from each other." And I'm like, "Dude, like after 4 years, I'm thinking about marriage, not about taking breaks." Um and
No, that's
then
the craziest part. Like, yeah, you guys had talked. This was in this relationship was like slowly progressing toward marriage, and you had talked about,
I would have married him in
maybe
a
work.
heartbeat after 2 years. Like the only
Right,
reason I
right,
wasn't living with him is because he was living with his parents.
right, right.
And there
Yeah.
were other situations, like a lot of people would hate on that, but um, they had gone through a
Well,
family loss, and so it actually made
right.
sense for him to be there. I still back
Yeah,
him up on that, and
yeah.
you know,
And it turns out his brother ended up taking his own life. Right.
yeah. So
That was
that
a
he
true
lied to
story.
me evidently about that um, our entire relationship, as I had been told that his brother died one way, and then a family friend, actually my what's really weird is my sister-in-law, her mom, and Matt's aunt are best friends. And they live in
Mm,
completely like they're both North Texas, but like, they live like 2 or 3 hours apart. Um and so Courtney let me know. She's like, dude, like Matt's Matt's brother didn't die of natural causes.
right.
That was a gunshot wound, self-inflicted. Um and
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know. It's yeah, some deep dark depression there for that family. Just one day, my best friend's name is Ashley, and the addict's name was Ashley as well. And I get a
Mm-hmm.
text from Matt that says, um, "Just so you know, I'm with Ashley now. I'll talk to you later." And so I'm thinking he's with my best friend Ashley because he is really close friends with Ashley's husband.
Okay.
Um, so I'm thinking he's hanging out with Ashley and Brandon, not thinking he's with Ashley. you,
Oh
you
my
know?
gosh.
So that's
Yeah.
how he broke up with me. And it was just insane because it was like, yeah, um, yeah, definitely the worst decision of his life.
Yeah.
But it turned out
Because
well
he
for me
spiraled it.
in the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah, I know. I know. It was very tragic and traumatic for you, and then you sort of went away. You went to Idaho. You got your you did a lot to reevaluate yourself and get yourself on the right track and
Yeah.
get your life put yourself in a a good direction. Whereas Matt, uh,
Proposed to
you
two
know,
girls with the same ring within 6 months of each other, married one, got her pregnant, went off the deep
yeah,
end, and went off the deep end.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, went off the deep end in a really bad way. Matt eventually took his own life.
and it was
And
less than 2 years after everything happened. I mean, it was,
I know this happened so fast,
yeah.
and it was weird because I think looking at like his brother and in him, it's like I must assume that there's a lot of mental illness in their family. You know,
Not that I
I
could
mean, which
see.
is
I mean, I was at their house
I
every
don't
day with their
know.
family. Like I know his dad suffered with depression because he'd just sit out on the porch and talk about his oldest son that went first. Um,
Yeah,
you know, but
I can't imagine that poor family and
oh,
and
my
what they're
heart
dealing with.
hurts so much for
I
his
know.
parents, like so
It
much.
does. I mean, they just went through the one tragedy, and they were only, and they were totally dealing with that. I mean, even when I met them,
I mean,
um,
how could you get over losing both of your boys, both of your kids? Like that's I couldn't even like
there is a yeah, and I don't know. I mean, it's kind of weird how in certain families like that happens. It's not just one. It can be multiple people within the same family that tend to take their own lives. It's a really strange thing. I often wonder like if it isn't just like a generational curse or something of that nature. I don't know.
I don't know.
But they were trying to live normal as they could. They were very normal people. I mean, that's the thing. Is like I don't know what I think of all the people that have all the stresses in their life, and I would say they were pretty stress free people.
Yeah,
I mean, like you know,
yeah. Unless the
yeah.
IRS caught up to him, I think he'd be all right.
Oh, really? Oh, oh
He had all
gosh.
kinds of side gigs going on. Uh,
Oh, did he?
I mean,
Oh
he
boy.
never held down a real job. Made a lot of money, but no, never anything that he.
I see.
But
Yeah. Well, I didn't even know what they did. I just knew that they
he
yeah.
fixed computers. He Cerakoted firearms. He did all kinds of stuff.
Oh, you're talking about Matt.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm talking about more like the
Oh, the
dad.
dad
Oh yeah.
retired right around the same time that everything went down.
Man.
But he had a really good pension and
Yeah.
everything.
You're
They
right.
were
You're
well
right.
taken care of. Their house had been paid off
Yeah.
for years.
Yeah. Man, they had a lot of land and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, it just seems like they were, other than the tragedy with the one boy with their oldest.
yeah,
I guess he was older
yeah.
than Matt, and then and then Matt, and then that's what's really crazy is like the pressure, I guess, of that. Do you have any idea, like now that you know? I was always wondering. I'm only asking this question. I don't know if this will make it on air, but did you ever find out like why his brother on drugs or anything like
I
that?
have no idea. Everything that even talking to my sister-in-law about this, um,
Mm-hmm.
he had a long-term girlfriend that he loved to pieces. He was very, very successful, owned his own company, was doing insanely well, and then took his final breath at his parents' house.
Right.
Like it doesn't, nothing adds up to
Doesn't
me. He
make
was
any
gonna get
sense.
married. Like
Right.
they seemed, from what I hear, they seemed completely happy. Nobody knew anything else was going on. Like I know he
That is
left
so
behind
weird.
a large amount of money, and he was, early 20s.
Wow.
That's how
So
they
he was
went on
really
their hunting
successful.
trips to
That's so
Africa.
weird. Everything, figured out, right?
Money.
And he would be happy. But that's like me. I mean, I went through the same thing. But I never thought about doing that. I never thought about checking out like that. It wasn't in my nature to do so. But I'm not gonna lie. I mean, when all of this stuff started hitting me in 2003, and I started kind of more waking up about, like, because I had at one point in time, I had my wife and I had my house and I had a new car. I had like, a sports car, and I was,
40, yeah.
I thought I had everything. Yeah, I have it all. It's like, oh, I made it. And then something came over me, and I realized it's like, wait a minute, there's more to this world than just stuff.
Yeah.
And and of course I was always researching and stuff, looking into things, but you know, reality kept me reality kept me grounded,
Yeah.
and I didn't get too far out there looking into things. I just kind of observed. I was an observer and a philosopher about stuff, but I didn't let it take me over, right? Until this Mandela thing, and then that's when I was like, I literally was like, okay, this is crazy. What the f is happening here? And one of the greatest Mandela things, I got to tell you, I got to give you a lot of
Uh-oh.
credit for this one because it really is a great Mandela thing. And people, if for you that remember, if you don't remember, I'm sorry, but absolutely, this is something everyone should look at. But you were the one that found the one with the time zones, and that made me think deeper
They
too. I
still
mean,
don't
because
make sense.
they don't make any
I don't
sense.
understand.
That when I looked at that, I didn't even remember even seeing this because they change all the time now. They're moving around. Did you know that Texas is in the fucking mountain time zone?
No, it's not. I'm in Mountain Time Zone in Idaho. No, Texas is not.
Sweetie?
Nope.
Yes, it
No, it's
is.
not. It's Central. Don't
Yeah,
even
most of
start.
it.
No,
But
just you're wrong. What are we talking about, Dan? I don't like this.
sweetheart, listen, I know. Listen, Texas,
No,
El
no, I am
Paso is in.
standing in Mountain Time Zone. I am right now. Right now.
I know, and there's parts of Texas in the mountain time zone with you.
Like what? Out towards like
Texas
El
was always
Paso?
yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean that
It's
would kind of make
insane.
sense, but at the same
Oh, you're
time,
getting an
no.
update. You're getting updated right
Oh my
now. Oh
God.
God, no, Candace. You know how it used to be. It went from border to border. It wasn't cutting through states. And then, like, it's so weird when you look at it, right? And I'll post a link up when we're talking, when I put this video out, but I'll show a map of the time zones when we're discussing this. But I've always said, like, that was amazing. And when you talked about it, I was like, this is just showing, like how disorganized our world is getting.
It makes
Like,
my
just
brain
because
hurt.
it's so, oh, it does. But it shows a level of compression. That's what I always say. Like everything's being squished. And that's what it looks like. It looks like the time zones are being squished, and they're flailing out in certain places, and then they go back to the other time
Why?
zone right below
But
them.
why?
I have no
Either draw a
idea.
freaking straight line or follow the borders.
Well, that's the funny part. So if you look at the border between Texas and Louisiana, look at that. You want to talk about some crazy, absolute insanity. That border, literally, it literally looks like if you took silly string or
Well,
and
it's
shot it.
following a river, though. So a lot
Yeah,
of
but the
our
river
borders
should
follow
never
a
be
river.
that windy.
Well, I live right next to
The
the
river
Snake
shouldn't
River,
wind like
and let me
that.
tell you, that's a snake in the river.
Yeah, well, a lot of rivers are snaking these days. That's all I'm saying. It's insane.
Oh my
All
god.
right, so let's do this. We're gonna take a 3-minute break, and then I'll pause the recording, and then we'll pick it right
All
back
right,
up.
sounds
Okay.
good.
All right, sounds good. All right, so we're back. Took a little break there. Just to reiterate, I wanted to just tell people how what you first saw. You were basically going to travel to drive to Idaho, and you were kind of like looking at maps and I guess looking at time zones or whatever, and that's how initially you found this, and you were like, I remember you contacting me and being like, "OMG, you got to see this. What the hell?"
Oh,
Uh,
I'm not gonna lie. I remember being thrown off by the time zones when I was looking, but I don't know that I can elaborate on it, honestly, Dan.
really? I remember it
It's
because
been
I
five
remember
years.
thinking, has it been that long, really?
It has five
I
years.
guess
I've
it
been here
has.
for 5 years now.
Oh
Um,
God, where's the time gone? Oh, just tell me it's 4 years. Make me
no,
happy. It's like,
dude, no.
well, it's
I've been
2018.
married 4 years. I've been
Oh my
here five.
God. Oh my God. It's been so long.
Hmm.
It's been so long, and like I've wanted to reach out to you and stuff and talk. I hope that I didn't wait too long to kind of pick your brain about stuff, but I feel like it's a great opportunity to share with the audience like a little bit of my personal life when it came to how it all led up to what I'm doing now with the Mandela effect. I know that I've told these stories and in my own words, and I guess it's kind of interesting to hear it from somebody else's perspective who actually was there and witnessed it all. And one of the biggest events, and I think this kind of changed us all, and I call it the night the sky opened up.
Is this a Berenstein Bears thing?
No, it's not a Berenstein
Oh
Bears
man.
thing. It was a thing where, like, we were outside and we would go out and watch. Remember how we used to sit outside and we'd watch meteor showers?
Uh-huh.
And it was you, me, and Bonnie,
Mm-hmm.
and we had the power of three.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we were, I don't know, like pagans or something out there, just like watching shit. And I remember we'd go watch these meteor showers, and we'd see when there was we'd see sometime they would streak across the sky, no big deal, but it'd be cool and be like, yay, whatever. But it really, for the most part, was a pretty uneventful night. There wasn't much that would go on. We weren't seeing like you're gonna see, we'd read the things, you're gonna see like 100 meteors an
Yeah,
hour,
I
and
remember that.
we would never see these things. We would never, and I remember for the longest time, this was something we always did. It was like, oh, meteor shower night, let's go outside. We get the blankets, we get chairs, start a little fire, smoke a little bit of, a little devil's lettuce. And, we would just chill out. It was like, just like friends. But this one night, and I guess it was about 2000, and I'm just trying to get you to remember because it was probably about 2000. It's like when you moved in, it was like that summer. I'm trying to think. I think it was like maybe right before, right. It was before the Mandela effect. So it had to be 2015 or 14. But I
Yeah.
remember the blood moon thing. We watched that. I don't know if
Yes.
you remember the blood moons. We
Mm-hmm.
did that. And I'd bring out the telescope and we'd watch stuff, look at different stuff. And then, so that one night, I remember sitting there and we were all like, I don't know, it was such a weird, I get such a weird energy when I think about it, but like, I remember like everything, like literally it looked like, well, maybe you can say or tell people what you saw because I know what I saw and what I remember, and I'm just curious to know what you remember. What do you remember about? Do you know the night in question I'm talking about?
I remember sitting out there. I remember you had your telescope out. I remember us not really using it that much. Uh, I also
No.
remember just sitting
All
there and
right.
looking up at the sky and watching stuff. But I don't really remember anything else. I
That's weird. So do you remember like the night that like so like it was like all this stuff started happening? Remember the night we were? It was the same night that after this event we looked up in the sky. Remember we were like I was saying, God, did you see that between the moonlight in the darkness? We could see these like birds or something fly by.
So I remember seeing something, and one of you was like, it's a satellite, and then the other one's like, it's not in the right area to be a satellite. Um, and I remember something about one of the star patterns was completely wrong.
That was Orion.
Yeah, I remember we looked up at the sky and saw it, and we were like, wait, that's not right. Is that the same night?
Yeah. So what happened on this night? And that's weird because see, when I talked to Bonnie about this a few nights later, she wanted to forget it even happened. And I couldn't forget it happened because I remember us all being out there. We were watching this thing, and like I remember, and you know what's funny is like it's such a it's like the sky opened up where like we saw a bunch of falling stars, literally just like everywhere around us, and I could have sworn, and I could be mistaken. You you may or may have not been there. And maybe it was just me and Bonnie. I thought, but I know a lot of times it was us three, and I might have always equated you being there watching that event. So that's why I was like, well, maybe you remember too. Maybe it's Bonnie that remembers because I do know Bonnie was like really shook up by it. She was like, okay, that was just weird, whatever happened that night. But I could have sworn you were there because I remember after that we had this like we were. I remember having this feeling like there was something that just happened like on a scale that you know, like nobody can describe. Here's what I remember. I remember like looking around, and for a good minute or so, it looked like streamers of stars falling from the sky. And I remember there was this part where it seemed like there was this bright flash in the sky, like it just engulfed all of us at one time. Like it was really strange. It was like
That is not ringing a bell.
none of this is
It
ringing a bell.
sounds amazing, but it is
It
not ringing a
was.
bell.
It was absolutely the most amazing thing ever. And I could have sworn like you were out there that night. But I know Bonnie was there for sure. So maybe it was just Bonnie and I doing it. You know, we were
Yeah.
out there checking it out. Yeah, it could have been that one. But there were so many other nights where we were out
Oh
there
yeah.
watching them. I just
Well, like
assumed it was you.
the
Yeah.
only so I remember the night that we thought we were gonna see like 100 shooting stars or whatever, and then there was like three. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of times that's what it was.
I
It was
I
like a
remember
total
that.
fail.
I remember going out there to see the blood moon. There was one where the moon was going to be closest to the Earth, and that it was going to be in like some crazy number of years, maybe 100 years or 200 years.
Right.
Never the moon was going to be yeah bigger than it's ever been in however many years. So I remember going out there on that night. Um, and then I remember a random night we went out, and I don't think we were going out for anything other than to kick back, relax, and stare up at the sky for hours. And, and I remember seeing a lot of shooting stars, but I don't remember any flash of light. I don't remember.
You don't remember Bonnie ever talking about? We talked about that at all?
I don't. I don't
Maybe.
think I do.
There were times where you would be hanging out with your boyfriend and you
Yeah.
wouldn't even be home for a few days or
Yeah,
whatever.
and I
So,
honestly,
you
I was
know,
probably at your house less than 50% of the time.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
I
to
didn't
maybe I'll pick
either.
Bonnie's brain about that and say, hey Bonnie, what do you remember? You know, because I know she remembers it. I know that was the night that, like, it was so crazy, and it's like I know we told you about it, but it has been like 5 years removed,
Well,
or
it's been
somewhere
5 years
around
since
there.
I've been in Idaho. It's been a lot longer since
Yeah.
that
That's true.
happened.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. It has been a while, but you would not forget that night because
No,
if you
neither.
witnessed it, you just wouldn't because
Yeah.
it was. And again, I could be wrong. I thought you were there because you were there a lot of times. I don't know why. I just assumed
Yeah.
you were just there. For some reason, I really feel like you were. But then I remember this. So there was this bright, like orange, like it just started to build up like this light, and I remember it just engulfed everything, and then everything just went stopped.
Is that
Like everything was like, what's that?
is that when you got the nickname Alien?
Um, I don't know. Apparently, like I'd become like you guys started calling me the alien for I guess after the whole Mandela stuff and all the because I was talking about a lot of stuff that was going on with
Yeah.
the sky and the Mandela effect, and I did notice all that. Like you were there when I pointed out how big Orion was.
Yeah.
I remember seeing
And
it,
there was
and
a
I was really
wrong
freaked
star in
out.
there, and I remember we looked that up. Like I remember there was a star in Orion, and we looked it up, and the pictures we saw of Orion didn't have that star, and it was like brighter than everything else, and it was there like
Yeah,
numerous days. So it's not like it was like
I think that was a planet that was moving around that
it could
time
have been.
too. That there was some planets and stuff making a weird alignment. And it's the first
Why
time
you
I've
gotta
ever
ruin this for
experienced.
me? I thought we discovered a star.
Oh no, no. I mean, like I said, I'm trying to go back and
I
remember
know.
everything. And I tell you what, when I made that first video, I talked about Orion. With oddly enough, I that was the first video I did. Of course, was the pyramids.
Yeah.
My you knew me as a person who always studied like that kind of stuff. I was always interested in the pyramids and things like that, or anything really. But I was always a researcher, no matter what. Even if we watched a lot of funny videos, I mean, I was
You're
always like talking about
you were
that kind of
always like
stuff.
a what is the word? A philosophical person.
I
Oh,
guess so. Yeah, I guess that's one
lots
way to
of
look
deep
at it.
conversations.
Lot of deep conversations. Yeah, we did have a lot of those, and yeah, I was hoping, dadgum, man, yeah, I was hoping you saw that because I could have sworn I thought you were there and Bonnie, and there was that night, and I could have, I for some reason I thought there was another person. Now, I could be wrong, and but I know that there was this one night where we were out there, and maybe just maybe, it was just me and her, and maybe we weren't always out there for stars. We were mainly out there to have a little bonfire and just
Okay.
relax and stuff and hang out. But when you got there, it was more like, oh, let's go watch a meteor shower and stuff. And
Yeah.
I thought it'd be cool. And that was something I've always done, so it was just sort of like common for me to want to do that. But yeah, man, that kind of sucks. I'm really bummed. I was really hoping you knew or remembered that night too. And like I said, I guess it was just Bonnie. I'm gonna have to reach out to Bonnie too and be like, "Hey, Bonnie,
I know, right?
what do you remember?"
Awkward
Yeah,
sauce.
I know a little bit, but I mean, it's probably cool. She'd probably be willing to talk about it.
Probably.
Hopefully, she remember some details about that. I knew that I know for sure. The next night, I was like, let's try that again, and we did. But she was really weirded out. Like the first, like she really didn't want to talk about it, like what she experienced. Like it was so bizarre. That really, I think, kind of messed her up a little bit, scared her a little bit. Dealing with
Yeah.
that.
Well,
Hmm.
she was dealing with a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
mentally. So,
Right. No, and so the idea, and she handled it pretty well. But dealing with the fact that reality might be changing or doing some weird stuff with it, it couldn't have been easy for anybody.
no, and she had a lot
Especially being around. You know.
in her personal life and in her personal her personal mental health. She was going through a lot. So, I mean, she may remember
Yeah.
that, but that may be a subject that I could see her not wanting to reminisce on.
Right. No. Maybe
I
not.
don't know that the Mandela effect was good for her.
I don't think it was good. It was very difficult for all of us. And because I was able to see when I was seeing it, it was like we had a lot of people at the time that were like, "Holy shit, it was this way."
Now it's a
Now,
TikTok
if I
thing.
mention now, if you mention to people, they're like, it's all become common. Like the changes and stuff that have happened have sort of sunk in, and people just remember it the way it is now.
Yeah.
It's weird when you're like that person that remembers things a different way, a different world. Like you start to feel like you do, and that's where I think I caught the term alien because I felt like an alien,
Yeah.
like I was on an alien world, and that's a, you think you see that kind of like maybe that concept in the Twilight Zone in movies and stuff like that, but to be the alien, I'm sorry, it's not an easy thing to be. The fact that I think that I handled it pretty damn well considering like what I've actually proclaimed to the world, it has happened. I think I've done a pretty decent job of not losing my own marbles in the process. So, but yeah, I thought you were not out there then when we were talking about like when we were looking at the sky and we were seeing like what looked like birds fly by and we call it out if we all saw it. I thought you were there for that. Like
That's
when
familiar. Like that, I remember.
we were seeing what looked like we said they look
That's not the same
like
night of
fast
the
moving.
like meteor crazy shower thing, right?
Yes, it was the same night
Seriously?
as that.
Then why do I
That's what I'm
remember
trying
it
to
so
tell you.
different? Mandela
I don't
effect.
know. Well,
Like,
like I said, it's a life changing thing when you
like
see
I
the sky
remember
open up.
calling them out. Like I
It's not
remember
easy.
like what like
Yeah, because we were all going. Is it just something in our eyes? I said,
yeah,
fine,
like
let's
I
all do it.
remember
If we
calling them
see it,
out,
let's
but I
call it
thought
out.
that was a different time. I don't know.
No, it was the same night.
Dude,
It was the
what
same night.
was
But
in that?
prior to that, right before that happened, right before I saw the meteors and all the sky opening up, it was strange.
I can't
Like it
remember.
literally felt like reality changed right at that moment, like that night. And when it happened, it was like this, like the angels in heaven fell from earth to earth. I'm telling you, it was like it was for a good moment.
They didn't
There was
fall.
so much shit everywhere,
They
huh?
weren't falling. I don't remember them as that sounds weird. Like I remember them like not like like when you're watching like a shooting star or whatever like entering the atmosphere like it's like a straight line. I don't remember these
Yeah,
as straight lines.
they weren't.
That's
They
okay.
weren't like
Well, then
when the
that
meteor
makes more
when
sense.
when the meteors were coming
I
in,
don't.
they were like it was like streamers. It was like God's fireworks show.
That's
It
what
was
you meant
like
by
they
that.
were
Like I remember them
yeah.
like, like when you light off one of the fireworks and it kind of twists and turns
Yes.
and like it's
You
not a straight
yeah.
line. It's more like a
It was
corkscrew
not.
kind of
And they were
up and
and they
down.
were streaming like there was like the tails. They weren't thin tails.
Yeah.
They were like a firework
So
where it's lighting up a bunch of sparkles,
after that
and it was
night,
all
I like and I do not at all remember like the bright light. I like that does not I feel like that's something I should
that's
remember,
weird.
but I don't.
Yeah, well, it happened so fast and it was out of the corner of our eyes.
Yeah.
We were all staring up, and out of the corner, there was this bright light that just sort of kind of engulfed us. And I mentioned it. It's like, did you feel that? Did you see that bright light off to the corner of your eye? And Bonnie said she remembered it, but you might not have noticed
Yeah,
it.
I might not
And there
have.
was this, yeah. Oh my God, it was so crazy that night. I don't know what the fuck happened, but like that moment right there was very significant to, I think, the world. I don't know how else to say it. It was very strange. And then after that calmed down, we were all staring up, and that's when it looked like we could see another reality where there was something between the light of the moon, which was not very bright that night. It was like maybe a very like a slim 1/8 moon or something sliver, waning or waxing moon, and then we had we were looking and we could see, like I said, I remember saying, focus like your attention in like the darkness of the sky. And I said, between the darkness and the light, like, do you see like this thing fly by? And you guys were like, yeah, but maybe it's just something in our eyes. And I
Yeah,
said,
it
well,
looked like
fine.
uh like when you see like the squiggle in your eye and it's kind of like floating.
Yes.
Yeah, like that's what it like I remember that as being what it
It
was.
seemed like another dimension or something. Like we were seeing like something going through water, in a sense. And I remember it moved fast. You remember it moving fast?
I don't remember it moving fast. I really don't.
Really? See, I remember it was kind of quick, like it would happen
Like
in the
I
sky
remember
quick.
it like as I moved my eye, it would go with it. Like if that makes sense.
Whoa. Yeah, but do you remember him like looking like? And I remember describing it as like very like large. Well, it would seem large. I mean, at the time, I mean, I'm saying they're large, but I have no perspective as to how big it was. I was looking up at the sky, but it seemed like they were like prehistoric birds or something, like pterodactyls or something. Like they just looked like they were thin and streamlined type of birds. But anyway, that's what it looked like to me, like a bird. But it's almost like we could see the wings flapping too, if I remember correctly. And I remember us going, okay, call it when you see it. And we would call it. And we all called it at the same time. And we're like, oh shit. Like we are seeing something
Yeah.
right there. And so that was that night. And that was also the night that I didn't mention this to you guys, but I was seeing like orbs flying around.
Well, that's the
Oh
weird
fuck.
thing is that I remember the orbs, and that's what I was like.
Do
Okay,
you?
yeah,
Oh my
so
god. So you were there. You
yeah,
did see.
and
You
then
just
we were
you're
obsessed with
missing.
orbs for
Okay.
like 6 months after that, and like you were always trying to convince me that they were real, and I was always trying to convince you that it was all in our minds because I'm a
Because it
skepticist.
was so right. And so you remember the orbs,
Yeah,
but did you remember the orbs like literally flying around us
yeah,
at like
yeah,
like that
yeah,
night?
definitely,
And I remember
100%. Yeah,
seeing, looking in a corner of my eye, I could see the orbs, like how I could see like their brightness shone off of the how we had the porch, like the lights off.
uh-huh.
I could see them lighting up behind me at the corner of my eye. It was like
Yeah,
at
and
my
at some point we
peripherals.
got up and we turned off the porch light and we let the fire die
Yeah.
down really low to see
Yeah.
if that's what it
God.
was. Yeah, I remember that.
Right. Yeah. That was the same night. And the orbs came, and then I was like, and I would see these things zipping around, and I was like, oh my god, do you guys see these orbs? It was like there was all this crazy energy that night. I don't know if you remember that, but I was just like, wow, what the hell was happening here? And so you were there. You do remember. I'm not crazy. I did remember all three of you guys being. You just don't remember the specifics of where it led to
I
when
don't
we.
remember the bright light, and I don't remember. Well, and that's the thing is like you kept talking about like meteors, and I don't remember them as meteors. I remember them as something else. Like
Thank
I
you.
don't.
So how would you describe them then? What would you did you and also how many of them did you see? Because I remember the entire sky being filled with
I
them.
there was tons, insane amounts, and I remember looking it
Yeah,
up on our phone to see if there was supposed to be like a meteor shower or anything, and there wasn't. And so we were like, I remember. Okay, so like the space shuttle that blew up over Texas. I remember
yes,
thinking maybe it's something like that. Like something blowing up and then just like
falling to Earth.
yeah, like flying through the sky, hitting like different
That's what it
winds and
kind
then
of
the
looked
wind
like
getting
when they
burned.
showed the debris.
Yeah, like the debris like
When they
floating
showed,
around, like
yeah.
yeah, like it wasn't like it was shooting an extreme straight line. It was
Oh, thank
like I said, kind
God,
of like a
you're
corkscrew
now.
kind of thing.
Oh, oh, yeah, and that's a weird thing to corkscrew. Like,
Yeah,
that
and
was
it wasn't.
shortly after that.
Yeah.
Things were like, okay, it was like, yeah, I'm trying to. It's like Starry
Falling.
Night. You've seen Starry Night, the painting. It's like all these little. Kind of reminds you of like Starry Night happening in real life, like that kind of like event.
Yeah.
Like because in that painting, it shows all the stuff in the like streamers and stuff in the sky,
So, okay, so there
and
was one that was
that's what
brighter
it
than the
reminds me
other,
of.
Dan. And you
Yes.
remember how we commented on how the tail was different than the rest of them? And then we
Uh
looked it
huh.
up online and we found a
Yeah.
phenomenon in another country that looked the exact same. Do you remember that? And it almost looked
Yes.
like there's like the shape of like the head of a bullet in front.
Uh
You,
huh.
do you remember that? Like we looked it up online. There's like
Yes.
another country that had a phenomenon, and we actually found pictures, and we were like, "This is what we saw. This is what we saw."
We saw a
And it
large,
was
like a
not.
large. Wow.
It was
Yeah.
multicolors in the stream, like in the
There was.
trail.
It was. Like I tell people, like when this happened, and it happened only for a minute. I don't know how long.
It was
Maybe seconds.
yeah.
Like it was
It
fast,
felt like a
and
minute, but
things would just yeah, and things were just coming out of the sky. There was tons of it, and it was like, and all this stuff was like literally like around us everywhere. And I kept thinking like, it's almost like, is this Fourth of July or something? Did everybody just light off fireworks? Like that's what it kind of looked like, fireworks, but they were up in the fucking
But,
sky.
you
And I
know the thing,
remember
I feel
going,
like they were in
wow,
our atmosphere. Like it doesn't look like they were coming through the atmosphere. It looked like they were at the top of the atmosphere, if that makes sense. I don't
yes,
know how to
yes,
describe it.
they weren't coming down. Yeah, they weren't.
They
They
weren't,
were. It was just above us. It was
yeah,
insane. It was like, and that's when I noticed right there. There was this. As I was watching all that, out the corner of my eye, I saw this like orange light just start to build in the corner. Like there was one of those big bright objects, like a meteor or whatever it was, coming right at us. You
yeah,
know, it felt like there was something coming right at us from the corner of my eye, and then all of a sudden, like just everything stopped. Like there was, like it just quit happening. Like it. So imagine like, all hell breaks loose, and then boom, like in a snap, everything just quits, and then the sky's back to normal, or it looks normal, and that's when we started noticing the energy, the orbs, the weird things in the sky, like the things that we were seeing would look like they were going through another layer, that for whatever reason we were seeing this other layer in the sky, and we were seeing things in that layer, and we were calling it out individually at the same
yeah.
time. Holy shit! So you, and now you're okay. That's cool. I'm just so glad you remember, because I'm like,
I was
please tell me you remember
like,
this event. Oh my god,
I was like, 'cause I've been
it's been a
like
long
imagining
time.
like
I
the
know.
ash, like a meteor shower, like the straight lines, and I'm like, that's not what that was. And then I don't know. I
No,
think,
no, it wasn't
I,
that. No, they were like streaming down. It was like a hose of shit
yeah,
just coming down on top of us. And like I said, they were very sparkly and, fanning out. I mean, it wasn't like the normal meteor where you see a straight line. It was like just things were kind of falling toward Earth. It was weird, but they was above us, so it wasn't really coming to the ground.
yeah.
And it was
It
like,
was like
I don't know, it was
going
all
across
over.
the out atmosphere, but it was like I don't know. It's weird. It's weird.
It's weird. Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely a strange night. And I remember Bonnie being like, I really don't want to talk about it. Like she just couldn't deal with it. I mean, she was like,
Yeah.
I can't. And of course, me, I mean, I'm such a digger. Like, I'm like, oh my God, what the hell happened that night? And that was just one of the, I think, cornerstones of that time period for me in my, development, I guess, looking into, I guess, the philosophical nature of reality and going forward. That night really triggered it for me. And then I had another thing happen, and like so many of these things. There was the time where I was at the shop. You weren't there, but you remember. I had my friend. She was up there. And Catherine was up there,
Oh yeah, crazy
and
Catherine.
Catherine was. Don't say that. She might be listening to this broadcast.
I'm sorry.
She's fine. She's fine. No, but she was up there when I was flying the drone, and I had that. Remember the drone?
Yeah, but you got
So
stuck on
I
HEB.
don't know. Mm-hmm. The drone that got stuck up on the
On the top of the building. Yeah, I remember that.
on the top of the building, and I had to go. Yeah, we fished it off and
Yeah.
saved it. Anyway, oh
Coat
god! But
hanger
that
from
same
Catherine.
drone. Oh my god! That same. So I was flying it at 125 feet. I had the little phone. I had everything. I was becoming like such a drone nerd. And I remember we were looking straight up at the drone, her and I, and we saw a flash of light like a meteor. Okay,
Yeah.
like a meteorite. Go. But here's the crazy part. It was under the drone.
Oh, weird.
So I had a frame of reference now, and when I saw it, it was underneath. And then I started thinking, holy shit! And it dawned on me that if we're looking up at something, right, and we see this stuff going through our eyes, and it's creating like a meteorite or whatever, how do we know that it's that high in the sky?
You don't.
How do we know that we're not? Our perception is just what the eye tells us, because what I saw was the same meteorites that I've always seen go underneath me. And she was like, wow, that was weird. And I go, yeah. And that was just a little glimpse into how reality is created through our eyes,
Yeah.
like what we perceive and how easily it can change, because all it has to do is your mind has to interpret it a different way, and now it's changed, you know.
Yeah.
And so that made me believe at that point, like, wow, we really are living in some sort of matrix or something like that. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, what the hell is going on here? And it would explain a lot of the paranormal stuff, and of course the sky changing. You know, my perception of where, you know, Orion was and the stars, and then when it came back, I remember us being outside, you and I. I remember we watched Orion come up over because this is right after I learned that, holy f, man, this thing is like way bigger than you've ever seen it. Like I was freaking out when I first saw it, and then like the next, I guess it was like 7 days, it was like cloudy, and I couldn't show you guys like what I saw because it was so freaking big. Anyway, when I finally got a chance to, you know, show it to you, I think you were kind of amazed too. You were like, "Holy shit, Orion's big!" Like, what the hell is going on with this? And then later, somebody sent me a video about the same time period. They had another group of people that were unrelated to Mandela Effect. They were into, you know, maybe I don't even know what their channel was even about, but all these people were like, "Oh my God, have you seen Orion? How big it is?" And of course, they didn't relate it to Mandela. I did because that's what I was, you know, looking into at
Yeah.
the time, and I thought, "Oh my God!" So I've seen other people kind of, you know, back up my claim. Before there was even really any understanding of what was taking place. It was just like there was only a few people that would really, you know, pay attention.
Yeah.
Now, would you say that I was a person that always paid attention to the stars
Yeah. You've
since
always
you knew
had,
me?
well, you had a telescope at one point. I don't know if you still have that or not.
I still have my telescope. I still, and I tell people this all the time. Like, you know, you don't understand. Like, I remember when I would walk out of the car, I would stop up and look at the
Yeah,
sky before I got in the car. I was,
you've always been drawn to it or fascinated by the sky, always.
okay, guys. So this is the end of part 2. Thank you for listening to me and the Mandela Effect.